who's joining us on the couch. Not here to talk about your problems. Here to talk about problems of college basketball on the women's side.
We'd be here all night. We don't have enough time to talk about Jim's problems.
About that.
It's Jim Fuller, beat writer for the New Haven Register, covers UConn football, UConn women's basketball, but we're obviously here to talk about the UConn women as they get ready to go to their 9th straight Final Four, which every time I say it, it just doesn't seem real. Do you still get amazed by what they're able to accomplish year in and year out?
I am. I was just asked about that the other day. I've covered them 14 years, and I've been to 13 Final Fours, and some reporters never go to one. So it's pretty extraordinary.
So you plan your vacations around Final Fours every year?
Pretty much.
He doesn't take a vacation. This guy's always working. You're always
He's
working.
hardest
Jim.
worker in the business.
So listen, the big controversy this week was there was a tweet by the Boston Globe writer Dan Shaughnessy saying basically, "Hey, no thanks, the UConn women are too good." What was your reaction when you saw that?
My first reaction is, who cares what some baseball columnist from Boston thinks? But I guess I was wrong about that, because a lot of people seem to care about that. So I don't know. I just think the whole thing's, it's been written, it's been talked about a lot, and my attitude is kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's like, if you don't like it, play better.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. They're trying to win a national championship. They come here to UConn to be challenged and be the best players they can be. So if you're in their way, that's how they're going to play. And if you're not ready for it, get out of their way, because they're coming.
And are they supposed to not play as well? Like play
I
competition?
don't understand what it is you expect. Could you not coach as well? Could you not recruit as well? I mean, his whole thing since he's gotten there is, I'm going to push these kids as hard as they've ever been pushed. That's why they come here. These kids don't come here because they're trying to win by 60 points against Mississippi State. They're coming here because they want to be the next kid in the WNBA, the next kid on the Olympic team, and Gino's going to get them there. And that's why they leave their homes and come, all this way to come play in Connecticut.
From your vantage point, what is it? I've seen a lot of practice. I've had the good fortune of covering them for years and years. I think I know a lot of what has to do, but what makes them so great, and what makes them buy into this?
Well, it starts off, they're all competitive. You don't last at UConn if you don't have it inside you. You've seen kids leave after a week or after a month, because if you're not ready to be challenged on every single thing you do, you're never going to survive at UConn. So you get these players, Brianna Stewart and Mariah, they're driven. They want to be the best. That's why they came here. So if it takes that, it starts with that, and then you have coaches that know what they're doing. So it transcends that, and now all of a sudden you have the best players playing harder than anyone else, and it's difficult for anyone to deal with that.
You've covered a lot of sports, a lot of different teams, pros, college, high school. Have you ever seen anyone practice with the intensity they practice with?
I don't see a lot of practices, but you just see it. That's when they get tested the most, is in practice. They just go hard, and I love watching him. It's like, okay, you go here, you were just here when this happened, let's go run this again, and why didn't you do this? And you get to see it, and you get to see these players when they're not blown by people. You get to see Mariah Jefferson when she can't handle the ball against the press and stuff, and it's amazing to see as you see him playing, and they do it until they get it right, and then he makes it even more difficult, and they do it again, and it's fun to watch.
It is.
So people ask us all the time, who's the best team, who's the best player? So Jim, who's the best team of all these UConn teams? Who do you think the best player is that's come through the door?
I thought the best team that they had didn't win a national championship. I thought the 2001 team was the best team I've ever seen, the most talented team.
Injuries killed them.
They had injuries, and they had a lot more competition that year. There's 2 other really good teams. I think Taurasi, just because what she won with after Sue Bird graduated, I don't know how she did it. And I think Stewart's their most versatile player. She can do more things than anyone, but I think Taurasi is probably, to me, she's the best player they've ever had.
And I think we all enjoyed her in the media too, just because she was always a good quote.
Yeah.
And still to this day, whenever she comes over, if we see her, we saw her last month at the Olympic stuff. She's just one of the guys. You know what I mean?
She was a blast to cover in recruiting too. Her and her mom. Her mom was a lot of fun too, to talk to.
So is there any doubt they bring home a 4th straight and 11th overall, and how bad could it be potentially?
Yeah, I don't see them losing. I think Oregon State's defensively going to be able to do some things. I don't think they can score enough. You have to be able to score to beat UConn, and I'm just not sure from what I've seen from a distance that they have quite enough. But they have pieces to make things difficult. They got a big kid, they've got shooters, they've got a good point guard. So I don't think that UConn's just going to run away right at the beginning like they have against some teams.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, real quick is you were talking about Taurasi. She was quoted today. There's been talk in the women's game about making changes, doing some different things to improve the game. One of the things we talked about was lowering the rims, and Diane had a very interesting quote about that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I hate that idea. I mean, small balls, I think that's enough. I think they're making some tweaks in the game that are working, and I think you don't want to make too many changes too quickly, and that's not a change. I don't really understand. So they can dunk. I mean, a lot of the people like the women's game because there's not a lot of dunking. So I'm not sure if I'm getting, now you get people can dunking. Oh, great. You know, I don't get why, because that's what the men do. That's the problem that they get into, is when they think they have to be like the men, and I think that gets them in trouble sometimes.
I agree.
Well, I think it's on the fans. You got to open your mind a little bit, and you got to realize, all right, I have to look at women's basketball maybe a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people who are out there, guys, I hope one day they have a daughter who actually likes sports. That may change the perspective too, and help grow the game a little bit.
So UConn wins in 11th.
I would think so, yes.
I think we're all in agreement with
Yeah,
that.
I'm on that. I think they might win the national championship by 40. You know, which
I hope not.
I know too. I agree with you too. I mean, listen, sometimes these games, I don't say they don't get boring. It's just hard to stay dialed in because you've watched just this beautiful work in front of you, and then it's like you said earlier, 81-18. You've seen it enough times to not want to be able to pay attention. Real quick, before we say goodbye, I have one more thing for you. Does UConn drop off next year at all?
Yeah, they have to. You can't lose at least 2, if not 3, of the best players and think they're not going to have some problems. Can they make the Final Four? Yeah. Could they win a national championship? They could, but they won't be favored to, I don't think. I think they'll start the preseason poll 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
So, but you're doing Samuelson, Collier,
Right.
Gabby Williams, Kia Nurse. That's a pretty nice place to start. I worry about is you're going to ask a freshman point guard to come in and run the show. That's asking a lot. So you'd love to see Sanaya Chong step up and deliver. But if she's not ready, then the freshman will have to take it. So that'll be pretty interesting.
That's a challenge for Gino.
Promise me to take some days off next week. You work too hard.
Next week, I might be busy next week.
Yeah.
After Tuesday.
Yeah, check out Jim Fuller's stuff, New Haven Register. He's heading to Indianapolis on Friday to cover the Huskies through their championship run. Jim, thanks for coming in.